The Home Office has warned of radiation and unexploded ordnance at a migrants centre. We're going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline that the Home Office has warned of radiation and unexploded ordnance at migrant centres. A report from the MOD warned of unexploded ordnance, radiation and spill leaks at an RAF Wethersfield. Guys, while you're here, before I give my initial thoughts, you can hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So I've covered already, if for those of you who have been subscribers and who've been watching my content know that there have been many issues that have been raised. The Home Office have been aware about the RAF Wethersfield place. We know that that migrants have not been given suitable accommodation. We know that there are many issues, and once again, I mean, obviously we don't know if there really is radiation or if anyone's suffered any radiation, and we'll read into the article in a moment. But the fact that this is even being highlighted as if there ain't enough problems with the accommodation that they're in. It's kind of like WTF sort of feeling here. And it's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Why they're not getting a grip on... We know that they're not getting a grip on the immigration of those coming across the channel. We know they're not getting a grip on the asylum claims and the processing of them. They're being very slow at it. And the 14 years of austerity cut and the cuts to the civil service, cuts into the Home Office, have led to a slow decline of processing of these asylum claims as well. So if you don't get these claims dealt with, you're going to keep having this. You keep having these so many people. You know, these hotels and barges and all that is costing us so much taxpayer money, and it's so infuriating to say the least. But we still have human rights obligations that we need to meet. Under international law. That's not going away any way, shape or form, by the way. So they still have basic human rights and necessities that they need, which are kind of being bent by the Home Office. Now, what they're using a lot of... So normally in some of these centres and places that they're in, they're being run by a third party, by a private company that the government pays a substantial amount of money to them to look after them on their behalf, basically. And these private companies, it might even be one private company, but what they essentially do is that they get this big, massive bumper pay from the government to look after the migrants. And then what they do is they spend as little money as they possibly can, just enough for them, so that they can basically take that money and keep a vast chunk of the money that they get from taxpayers, that me and you that pay for, go straight into their coffers, instead of actually putting more investment into making sure that these men and women and children are given suitable accommodation and given everything that they need until their asylum claim has been processed. Yeah, it kind of a bit annoying, really. Another proponent of wastage of taxpayer money. I mean, I don't think anyone here thinks that the whole Rwanda scheme is going to happen. There's not going to be flights before the election. I don't think that's going to happen in any way, shape or form. But the very possibility of migrants in a potential place that could have serious damage, serious repercussions, again, this should not be happening. If these sites are not safe, they should not be in them. And it's bad enough that we have British people up and down the country living in incredibly disgusting, inhumane conditions in some of the housing that they're in. And where is the government? They're nowhere to be seen. They try not to talk about it. They try not to highlight these things. What are we talking about? We're talking about George Galloway. What else are we talking about? Lee Anderson's comments. You know, that's what the mainstream media are kind of highlighting here, not talking about these issues and why these issues are not being dealt with. So the Home Office is facing a fresh scrutiny over its use at an RAF base to house asylum seekers after an official report was unearthed warning of radiation and unexploded ordnance at the site. A report seen by the eye from the Ministry of Defence, the MOD, warned of unexploded ordnance UXO, radiation and spills and leaks at RAF Wethersfield, Essex, which might pose a risk to human health. Now, it says the word might, doesn't say that there is, that there may be potential radiation on site, but it doesn't say that there have been spills or leaks or anything like that. So just take that a little bit with a pinch of salt. I think that's a very, very important caveat to make there, guys. Although the report dates back to 2005, the eye can reveal that neither the MOD nor the Home Office have carried out any decontamination work at the site since the concerns were first raised. Okay, so this is all the way back to 2005. So we're talking even about... So we're talking about 2005, that's a Labour government. That's not even Conservatives. Wow, we're talking nearly, what, 10, 20 years? 20 years? Jesus. Well, just under 19 years specifically, but... No radiation has been detected in recent tests, the Home Office has said. Okay. The Home Office has also identified a possible contamination site with UXO that is fenced off less than a mile from where the asylum seekers are living, with other potential contaminated areas further away, it is understood. It comes after a 2021 MOD report on the Wethersfield base suitability as asylum accommodation and warned that it was likely to have a high risk of UXO in parts of the site. Okay, so it says here that they're not that where radiation is sites. This is not. Is it on the site or is it near the site specifically here? I'd like a bit of clarity there to know for sure, especially when this is a report from especially they're coming off the report from 2005. The site was due to undergo a series of assessments by the MOD to reduce the risk from military leftovers, but said these were never carried out in order to hand it over more quickly to the Home Office. More than 500 asylum seekers are living at the base, which was converted into Home Office accommodation as part of an effort to cut the cost of housing asylum seekers in hotels as it spiraled to more than £8 million per day. The revelations pose fresh questions over the suitability of the RAF Wethersfield for housing asylum seekers after hunger strikes, allegations of suicide attempts, and frequent 999 calls. We've talked about the hunger strikes and the suicides already that's been taking place there. It's horrible to say the least. The Refugee Council said it was deeply worried by the use of Wethersfield to house asylum seekers, describing it as wholly inadequate for vulnerable people who had fled war. Asylum seekers have previously protested over conditions at the RAF Wethersfield. Their needs are being turned a blind eye just like our own, guys. Local authorities launched a failed legal challenge against the use of the site as Home Office accommodation based on its remote location. The Home Office himself, who is the MP of the area, previously criticised the conversion as inappropriate. Before opening as asylum accommodation in July 2023, Wethersfield was an RAF base and later the headquarters of the Ministry of Defence Police. While some of its history is shrouded in secrecy, the 2005 site report reveals it had firing ranges, explosive storage barrels, an armoury, a fire station, and various stores of oils, chemicals, and fuels. But hasn't most of this been cleared? You would think the vast majority. You would think this would have been cleared before bringing them in, surely. Surely. Blank and live ammunitions were disposed of in one part of the site called Parkwood, according to the 2005 report. While this has been cleared, there are anecdotal evidence of other disposable areas across Wethersfield. The MOD later said that the NUXO in the report was simply bullet castings rather than large bombs, but both the Home Office and MOD confirmed no decontamination efforts had taken place since the report. So why not? They could potentially make them sick. Do we really want more people being sick? Haven't we already got a struggling NHS at the moment? The report says that the evidence of unexploded ordnance across the site meant that any area where there is evidence of disposable should be considered a high risk to human health and a moderate risk in several different areas across the site, including training areas and former ranges. A second Ministry of Defence report in 2021 obtained by the Express also mentioned of a high risk of undetonated explosives at the RAF Wethersfield with a bomb dump area used for the storage of nuclear weapons on site. So let me get this straight. So we might have radiation on the site. You might have storage of old nuclear weapons on site. This This is just crazy. This is crazy. They got these potentially these kind of things still potentially. Now, bear in mind that is a 2021 report, so that was a couple of years ago as well. Home Office sources says the MOD site watchdog, the Defence Infrastructure Organisation, has not identified any areas where UXO was present. But the I understands that the Home Office has identified a possible contamination site which is fenced off for less than a mile from where the asylum seekers are living, with other sites at a further distance. Now, if they're a possible contamination site, as long as it's contained and maintained and looked after, why is that really a big deal? I think that's a fair question. As long as if it's a mile away, and as long as it's secure and it's looked after, I don't see what the issue is. Maybe to me, I mean, I can understand if your family living down the road here or opposite your road is a contamination site right there opposite you. I can understand that concern. But as long as it's secured and it's looked after and there's no issues, is it really a big deal? I'm sure someone in the comments is going to say, yes, it is a big effing deal. But maybe it's just me. So, potential risk from radioactive material. The 2005 report warns of a moderate risk to human health from possible... I cannot say that word. Don't ask me to say that word. Substances would give off radiation at Wethersfield. These potentially came from a historical disposal practices, leaks and spills, aircraft and waste burning. The report also warns that the site may be contaminated with chemical weapon agents with potential residue of gases such as chlorine and phosphine. An environmental survey commissioned by the Wethersfield Air Base Scrutiny Committee, a collaboration of councils which opposed the asylum site, also found that the base was a high risk of radioaction contamination. The EI understands that the environmental impact assessment undertaken in March last year and February this year on behalf of the Home Office found no noticeable concentrations of contaminants. Dr. Peter Martin, the Royal Academy of Engineering Research Fellow at the University of Bristol, said it was impossible to know what the contaminations might be due to the extensive and variety history of the site, but suggested it could be from aircraft clock dials which contain radioactive materials or radiation used from imaging. Dr. Martin said that any radiation sources would be stable and immobilized if left in the ground, but could lead to contamination if the soil was dug up or was breathed in large quantities. The 2005 report identified a series of assessments and actions in which the MOD was planning to take to investigate or mitigate the risks of ordnance at the site, including clearing train areas and explosive storage buildings to confirm that they were free of explosives. But a later Freedom of Information request to the MOD confirmed that these were never carried out. So they've not been carried out according to the Freedom of Information. The MOD said that this was because the disposal of the site was brought forward to meet Home Office requirements. So, yeah. Essentially, the Home Office have basically said, we don't have time yet to do proper procedures. The Home Office said it carried out 14 surveys, including a geo-environmental risk assessment and air quality assessment ahead of transforming the site, but it is not clear exactly what these covered. It did grant the site a free from explosive certificate. Hey, they've got a certificate that says, we don't have any bombs here. It's basically what it says. A mass of dead rabbits found at base. Care for Calais, which supports asylum seekers at the accommodation until it was blocked by the then Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, said it has also found dozens of dead rabbits at Wethersfield since it opened in July 2023. The Home Office did not respond to specific questions about the rabbit deaths, and the local council said it had no information. Dr. Martin said that the deaths should potentially be investigated by the Animal and Plant Health Agency and could also be attributed to can't say that word, a viral disease which can be fatal to rabbits. Care for Calais described Wethersfield as akin to a horror novel. A remote site contained by barbed wire fences, isolated from society, contaminated with unexploded ordnance and radiation, and a mass of dead rabbits for our clients is a real-life horror story. The evidence is mounting daily. The site is bad for people's health and well-being, said CEO Steve Smith. When asked about the findings, Imran Hassan, Executive Director of Communications and Internal Affairs at the Refugee Council, said, "We remain deeply worried the government continues to accommodate rising number of people seeking asylum in contingency accommodations that is entirely unsuitable for their needs. A former RAF base, which is wholly inadequate for vulnerable people who have endured war, torture and persecution that are seeking safety. There's particularly several highly concentrated issues raised about the RAF Wethersfield in particular. Home Office spokesperson said that our priority is the safety of asylum seekers on all our sites, and the residents of RAF Wethersfield are safe. Site referrals in this to almost 20-year reports are significant distance from residential areas. Tests would indicate the pressures of contaminations have found no evidence that suggests the presence of unexploded ordnance or contamination in the areas the Home Office is using. But I just think, why? Here's the thing, right? Why didn't they just do everything properly, follow things by the book? No, they had to rush everything. Why did they need to rush everything? You know, remember the problem with the barge? They didn't do their checks properly, and what happened? They had to take them off, and someone got sick here from the water, and someone had actually committed suicide as well on that barge as well. It was reported on the barge because they weren't doing all their damn checks properly, and from the looks of it here, it looks like they're doing it again. They're not doing their jobs properly. Why? Why is it so hard for them to do their bloody jobs properly? To ensure that the accommodation is as safe and secure as it possibly can be for them. Why is it so hard for the Home Office to do this? It really is pathetic. It really, really is. It really is not that hard for them. And they're more concerned about numbers and what the media bloody says when actually should be dealing with these issues. And I just feel like they're just dragging it on and on and on. And then when Labour come in, they're going to have to clean up this goddamn mess. They're going to be shifting asylum seekers around because they're going to realise they're in accommodation that's actually could be in breach of international laws. Potentially. These inhumane conditions. Potentially. Because this is not the first time we've heard about issues in the RAF Wethersfield. We've covered several stories about this. And we've covered stories with regard to the barge. The accommodations that some of these people are in are just disgusting. Completely disgusting. And I don't understand. Like, we pump so much money into this. We've thrown so much money towards this pathetic Rwanda scheme. Imagine, some of that money could actually be used to ensure that all the necessary arrangements and clearing any kind of contamination or explosive or whatever it might be, dead rabbits, whatever is at that field, they could have dealt with all this. And then it would have been okay. It would have been at least a decent accommodation for them while they get their process claimed. But instead, they've gone cheap shop on this. It's pathetic. They are human beings just like you and I, people. It's very important to remember that. So what do you guys make of this? Potentially radiation, potentially nuclear weapon disposal, potential this, potential that. We've talked about these before, guys. But what do you guys actually think of this? Do you think there's anything to this? Do you think that the Home Office are just being lazy when it comes to the handling of this? Handling of immigration, the handling of processing asylum claims to bring the numbers down. Do you think they're just being lazy about it all? Or is it the case because of the last 14 years of austerity, there's just not enough civil servants to process these claims? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, it'd be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.